Good afternoon. My name is Eileen Simon, and I chair the Legal Momentum Board of Directors. I'd like to welcome friends, guests, and honorees of Legal Momentum to the 20th Annual Aiming High Awards. We are incredibly grateful for your continued support in a year that has challenged and tested us in more ways than one. I've been involved with Legal Momentum for more than 5 years. In 2015, I had the privilege of being honored at this event and learned firsthand about all the important work Legal Momentum is doing to advance women's rights and to champion equality and inclusion. I knew I wanted to deepen my engagement with the organization, and I joined the board a few months later. We are at a societal inflection point as we near an election that stands to shape the rights of women dramatically. With the recent passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, we have lost an iconic champion in the fight for equality. It's now up to us to carry on her legacy, and Legal Momentum is poised to do just that. For 50 years, Legal Momentum has led innovative legal and policy solutions to address gender-based violence, including those to promote victim safety and offender accountability. We're also focused on raising awareness of how technology can perpetrate gender-based violence, and we're making sure the law keeps pace. Legal Momentum was instrumental in drafting and passing the landmark Violence Against Women Act, which celebrated its 25th anniversary last year. And we continue to play a role in its periodic expansions and reauthorizations. Legal Momentum also champions countless critical litigations to defend women and promote equality. With that as a backdrop, it's incredibly fitting that we honor Citi today as a long-standing champion of inclusion and gender balance. The announcement of Jane Fraser as the next CEO reinforces Citi's corporate commitment to these ideals. And in my job at MasterCard, Citi is an invaluable and trusted customer and partner. And now it is my privilege to introduce Karen Kaplowitz, the founder and chair of the Aiming High Luncheon. Karen is the architect and powerhouse behind this event, whether in person or virtual. Without Karen's vision, we would not be celebrating 2 decades of Aiming High. We are all so indebted to Karen for her partnership and support. Karen?
Thank you, Eileen, and welcome to our 20th anniversary. With all of you, my heart aches with the tragic loss of our champion, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Her death is a stark reminder that none of us can take for granted our precious civil rights, and a reminder, too, of how much we depend on the advocacy of Legal Momentum and on your support. The Aiming High Awards started with one simple question. Would it be helpful to find allies among the growing ranks of powerful women business leaders to help Legal Momentum? When the answer to that question was yes, or should I say, hell yes, the Aiming High Awards were born in 2001. 20 years later, you can see for yourselves today that the Aiming High Awards were a catalyst to build a fabulous community of powerful, talented, and committed women and men to support Legal Momentum. You've already met the chair of the board, Eileen Simon of MasterCard, who we honored in 2015, Carol Baldwin Moody, who we honored in 2011, is president and CEO. NACD Directorship Magazine, the leading voice of Fortune 1000 boards, is our media partner. You will meet Debbie McWhinney, a 2010 honoree, who is presenting the award today to Tonnet Callaway of BorgWarner. Brad Karp, a 2017 Man of Distinction, is presenting our first Corporate Champion Award to Citi. Pamela Carter, a 2012 honoree, and Paula Pretlow, a 2009 honoree, are featured speakers. What an amazing, impressive, and cherished community of supporters. Every year, I have the special privilege of asking our past honorees in the audience to stand up and be recognized. This year, to mark our 20th anniversary, a group of past honorees on their own initiative made it their mission to reach out to others. As a result, this year we have more support from past honorees than ever before. Barbara Yastine, Diane Shoemaker-Krieg, Debbie McWhinney, and Brad Karp led the effort, with strong support from outgoing board chair Elaine Wood and from Legal Momentum's incomparable development leader, Crystal Williams. Special thanks to them and to all our past honorees who have continued their support. This year, I can't ask them to stand up, so I present them to you virtually. I am also delighted to report that since 2001, the Aiming High Awards have raised more than $17 million, which has helped sustain Legal Momentum's vital mission of protecting vulnerable women and girls and all of our rights. Thanks to all of you. The loss of Justice Ginsburg reinforces the importance of the work that Legal Momentum does and must continue to do. To tell you more about that essential work, I am pleased to introduce Carol Baldwin Moody. Carol brought her tremendous success in business, most recently at CalPERS, to Legal Momentum in 2016. She is now our president and CEO. Please welcome Carol Baldwin Moody.
Thank you, Karen. Legal Momentum is the nation's first and oldest nonprofit organization dedicated to advancing gender equality through the law. Originally founded in 1970 as the now Legal Defense and Education Fund, we have been at the forefront of the gender justice movement for nearly 5 decades. We want to acknowledge that Justice Ginsburg's groundbreaking litigation made much of Legal Momentum's work possible, and also proudly note that she is an essential part of our original story. Before her appointment to the judiciary, Justice Ginsburg was an inaugural member of our board of directors and an early member of the advisory committee for our National Judicial Education Program, NJEP. Our greatest honor is to carry her legacy forward by advocating for the full realization of equal rights and opportunities for all. Our mission has always been simple: to secure equality and opportunity for women and girls through targeted litigation, innovative legislation, policy advocacy, and education. But in real life, what does this mean? It means continuing to be the national leader in the effort to eliminate gender bias in the courts through our renowned NJEP. It means when the New Jersey Chief Justice closed all courts on October 28, 2019, and required the state's 505 judges from all levels of court to attend a gender violence and bias summit, Legal Momentum was there to present. Women continue to be grossly undervalued in our economy, resulting in high rates of women living in poverty and employed in low-wage work. Since its founding in 2017, Legal Momentum's Women Valued Initiative works to correct this problematic trend, advocating for the rights of women nationally and at all points along the socioeconomic spectrum. Through our litigation docket, Legal Momentum continues to push stronger legal standards and procedures and to strengthen workplace protection for women and girls through direct litigation and amicus briefs on a broad range of issues. Through our SIM Legal Momentum helpline, which receives calls from all 50 states, Legal Momentum provides limited representation, legal guidance, referrals to support those facing gender discrimination in the workplace. And given these difficult times, as you can imagine, those calls are more than doubled. What does it mean? It means through our COVID-19 policy brief and our Working Women's Bill of Rights, Legal Momentum has set forth an unprecedented, intersectional, and holistic legislative agenda for women's economic equality. We are also a proud partner in New York City's Young Women's Initiative, an innovative youth empowerment project that fosters young women of color to become leaders in their communities and beyond. We are so proud that in our 4th year of our Rights Beyond Peer Educator program funded by this initiative, we were once again able to train a record number of peer educators. And we are exceptionally proud that we were able to adapt our curriculum to a virtual model and exceeded our original goal of participants and reached almost 400 participants. It means you step up to provide concrete recommendations when our legal director was appointed to Governor Cuomo's COVID-19 Domestic Violence Task Force. As one of the leaders in helping to make real Title IX school promise of equality in education, it means that we stay in the forefront of efforts to stop changes to Title IX rules that will be harmful to survivors of sexual violence on campus. It means we provide expert guidance to United Nations on efforts to hold human traffickers accountable and empower trafficking survivors. But none of this would be possible without your continued support. We would, of course, like to thank each of you personally, and we will. But in the interest of time, we want to give special thanks to our very generous grant underwriters and underwriters as of September 22nd. For our grant underwriters, Board Warner, Bright House Financial, Citi, and Paul Weiss, and to our underwriters, Mastercard and Simpson Thatcher. And always we give a special thanks to our many pro bono firms who provide countless hours of support for our work. And now to uplift our spirits, you can see for yourself how Aiming High has been a catalyst for building a fabulous community to support Legal Momentum. To introduce our first 2020 Aiming High honoree, Tana Calloway of Borg Warner, please welcome 2010 Aiming High honoree, Deborah Doyle McWhinney, a member of the board of directors of Borg Warner, Focus Financial Partners, IHS Markit, and Flora.
Good afternoon, I'm Deborah McWhinney. I hope you're enjoying this very unusual Aiming High celebration. Today it's my honor to introduce Tana Calloway. I got to know Tana about 2 years ago when I joined the Borg Warner board. She'd already been at the company for a couple of years and was so helpful at onboarding me and helping me understand the business, the issues, the opportunities, and everything that needed to get done. I think she probably rused the day I put her on my automatic dial on my phone. Tana's one of those executives that brings kind of the jack of all trades to a role. She was the head of HR for a while, did a great job. Then she became general counsel and board secretary, did a stellar job. And now, and this is very hot off the press, with the just closed merger between Borg Warner and Delphi Technologies, Tana has become the chief administrative officer for the combined companies. This merger will create the largest manufacturer of innovative transmissions for combustion, hybrid, and electric vehicles. We're very excited about it. What I see as a board member is someone who can find a way to break down walls, who finds solutions to thorny problems, and keeps a smile on her face and a good attitude in getting things done. She helps other employees be more successful and is very involved in Borg Warner's diversity efforts. All of us can read about Tonit, but to me, what raises her to the level of being an Amy High awardee is what she does in the rest of her life. In addition to what she does at Borg Warner, of course, she's been involved in charities in the communities that she works and lives in. But today, she's also on the board of Astronics and W.P. Kearney. But to be an Amy High Award winner, I think you kind of need to have that family touch too. So last month I had a Zoom call with her family members. Her husband, Doug Swanson, who is a district judge in Milwaukee, quite accomplished in his own right, and her two children, Kira and Cal. And I learned a lot. For one thing, their nickname for her is Mrs. Malaprop. They didn't give me examples, but I think it's an inside joke. Of course, there were stories Doug told about the two of them speeding to childcare to pick up the kids before they close. We've all been there. Dare I say, there might be more than a few speeding tickets involved. And of course, family meals were often on the improvised side, but the loving way they expressed the stories about Tonit are something to be envied. At home and at work, Tonit doesn't hold back. Life is full steam ahead for her, but when she needs to relax, a glass of wine, a comfy blanket, and a Disney musical will do the trick. When I asked them Tonit's best quality, they in unison said, "Oh, there's so many." Doug said, "Look at our kids. Our kids are great." Kira said, "I love our vacations together. Mom spent so much time planning them," and then she told me about a trip that they'd taken to Japan. And Cal added that his mom had really helped him learn to value antiques. Tonit is one of those people who's found a way to have it all. Tonit, you're an inspiration and a wonderful role model. In this year that most of us want to just press the delete button, the Amy High Awards are a nice reminder of what is good. Congratulations, Tonit, on receiving the Legal Momentum Amy High Award in 2020.
Well, hello, everyone, and I'm just so happy and honored to be a recipient of the Amy High Award. For me, I think many of you know a little bit about me and what I have done. So for me, to be honest with you, this award is greater than me, and I have a ton of people to thank. So I'd like to spend my time thanking everyone who's had a huge impact on my life. You know, President Obama recently in a speech said, our actions echo throughout generations. And that really stuck with me. And I hope my actions will do the same for my kids and for the people I touch. But there have been a ton of people who've touched me. So I want to start with my company and the amazing people with whom I work. I want to start out with the board of directors. You don't often get a chance to work with super intelligent, kind, professional people, and I've had that good luck. I want to specifically thank Deborah McWhinney, who is my mentor and who sponsored me for this award. She is an outstanding mind and, again, a lovely human, which is really important to me. I want to thank Frederick Lasalde, who is my boss, the CEO of Borg Warner, and an amazing talent, an amazing leader, and a really great man. And I also have to thank, along with him, each and every member of the strategy board. I tell you, I know people often say the people they work with make the difference and they're all great and it's all kumbaya. But in my case, it really kind of is. We fight, we argue, we get mad at each other, we think together, we collaborate, we laugh, we bring joy to each other, and we look after each other. And I can't imagine working for or with a greater group of amazingly smart, talented leaders who, again, are great humans. And you're going to hear me say that a lot because to me that actually means more, especially in these times. The great human piece is so important. And I am glad I have surrounded myself with those kinds of people in my life. So thank you. Thanks to Alexis Mikas, who is our chairman of the board, who has been a great mentor. When you talk about your opportunities and where you land, The job I have now is in part because Alexis told me, Tonnet, and not exactly in these words, but said, you need to think about this. This is a great role for you, and I need you to take it. So, Alexis, thank you. I've never forgotten that conversation. It's meant the world to me. It will always mean the world to me. And I hope I am able to do that to someone coming up in the ranks. So again, thank you. And, obviously to do this, to work the hours we work, you have to have a tribe. You have to have people behind you that are there all the time. And I have an amazing family. And I want to thank my husband, who I actually commute. So I'm not at home all the time. And he has always, always been a steadfast supporter and just a great guy. And I have two amazing kids. They're not kids. I should actually not say that anymore. I have two young adults that are fabulous. My daughter, Kira Swanson, is 23, lives in New York City, an actress. And again, we're fortunate, I think. We really raised some amazing humans. So Kira, thank you. Kira has done most of the editing for almost every video except this one for me. And she's done the background singing. So I miss having her in this video. And she's been the director. I have a son, Callaway Swanson. And yes, he's got my last name as his first name, who is a freshman at Yale. And he's an interesting young man. I can't wait to see what he does as well. And again, this theory about, I hope, knock on wood, we did it right. And he's an amazing human. So, I could not do it without them. And there's another man in my life who's been always there, always my number one fan, my number one supporter, and that's George Callaway. That's my dad, who was a cool dad to a girl before it was cool to be a cool dad to a girl. I told him once out of the blue, before Tiger Woods was a thing, that I wanted to learn how to golf. And it was because at the time I was being bused. I was part of the desegregation program in the state of Wisconsin. So I was being bused from the inner city to a suburban school. And I was getting ready to go into the high school. And I played basketball. And I actually said to my dad one day, I want to learn how to golf. And he said, why? And I said, they will expect me to play basketball. They will never see golf coming. And the next day, he had hired a pro for me. So he's just a cool dude. And I love my dad and George Callaway. Thank you. And finally, I've got to thank 4 amazing women, 2 of whom I've never met, all of whom are no longer with us. So, this whole theme about your actions echo through generations. If you bear with me for a moment, I'm going to show you some really cool family pictures. So the first one is this picture. And I'm going to put it up in front so you can see it. That is a picture of my mother getting married. And the woman she is pinning the corsage on is my grandmother. That woman, my grandmother, was a housekeeper, maid. But in that time, while she was doing that, she managed to buy 4 investment properties in the city of Milwaukee. And those investment properties helped fund my mother's entry into college. And my mother worked through college. She was the first generation in her family to graduate from college. I am actually the second, and my daughter is the 4th. So though that work, that inspiring, tough woman, her actions echoed through generations. The other people the other 2 women, and then there's my mother. I'm sorry, I shouldn't forget her. So this lady here, who is first generation college graduate, she was an educator. When she graduated, she was the principal at Longfellow Elementary School in the south side of Milwaukee. Tough lady. Oh my God. 5'2", mean. But she believed in me. College was not an option. Acceptable behavior was not an option. And she was, again, a great fan. Number 1, right there with my dad. And I would never have been here. Not even a chance without her. So thanks, Mom. She died 4 years ago. And I missed every moment of being with her. But what she has done, what she has instilled in me, what she's instilled in her grandkids, keeps going. Echoes. The other 2 women, tough little women as well. And I'm going to hold this up and I'm going to point to them. So this is right here is my mom's mother. This is my dad's mother. And this is my dad's mother's mother. So this is my dad's grandmother. I never met this lady, and I never met my mom's mother. My dad's mother, I did meet. Her name was Clara. And those ladies, were an inspiring presence in my dad's life. And they really helped to raise a strong, caring man who knew how to treat women, because his dad wasn't in his life. And these tough women produced a dad who, like I said, was cool dad before it was cool to be cool for a dad of a girl. And he helped my mom in her career. Well, the really cool thing about my dad is he did not have a degree. When I graduated from the University of Chicago for law school, my dad graduated with his bachelor's degree in the same year. So again, echoes affect generations. So with that, I want to actually tell everyone, and I love awards. It feels good. It's too bad we're not networking together. That would have been great. But what the organization, Legal Momentum, is doing echoes. Simply put, it echoes. So while we celebrate for this award, please remember the great work they do. Remember the echoes. And so, 2 months from now, when the award is passed and they may be gearing up for the next award, and you're thinking about what can I do differently? What organization can I help? Remember Legal Momentum. Remember the echoes. Gender equality, empowering women, giving them a voice is so important now. And it is something that, if you, based on what's just going on right now, it is key to the future. And again, it goes back to echoes. What are our actions going to do as we move forward? Well, with that, again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the amazing people in my life. I hope I haven't forgotten any. The one thing I will say for women is it's not just your colleagues and your family, it's also your personal tribe. And I've got a couple of quick shout outs. My best friend in the world, Rachel Schneider. Another good friend right up there with her is Gowrie Rodman and Joanne Bishman. And had there been a luncheon, you would have met them, and I wouldn't have been there because I probably would have been at another table, but the loudest table at the event would have been them. So I'm sorry you didn't get a chance to meet them, because they are some incredible women. Thank you. And I do want to give one shout out. These amazing paintings behind me. It's an artist named Shaniqua Gay, and she's amazing. She's out of Atlanta, and another really cool, strong woman. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Tana, for your wonderful support. Now, to introduce our next 2020 Aiming High honoree, Corporate Champion City, please welcome Brad Karp, our 2017 Aiming High Man of Distinction and Chairman of Paul Weiss Rifkin, Wharton and Garrison.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my distinct privilege to present Legal Momentum's first ever Corporate Champion Award to City. I'm Brad Karp, and I've been the chair of the Paul Weiss Law Firm for 13 years. I was honored to be named a Man of Distinction by Legal Momentum in 2017, and I spent the last 25 years proudly serving as principal outside counsel to Citi. Over that time, I've consistently been impressed by Citi's culture and values. Today is the 20th Legal Momentum Aiming High Award event, and I'm proud to say that I've attended each of these events from the very beginning, though never virtually. And my law firm, Paul Weiss, has contributed more than $1 million to Legal Momentum over the years to support its critically important mission and advocacy. And having been present at the very first awards luncheon in 2001, I'm well aware that senior female executives at Citi have been honored more frequently than leaders from any other organization. Past Citi honorees include Stephanie Mudick, Sally Krawcheck, Bonnie Howard, Debbie McWhinney, Jane Fraser, Suni Harford, and Barbara DeSore. Other Aiming High honorees held executive positions at Citi both before or after they were honored by Legal Momentum, including Terry Dial, Heidi Miller, Barbara Yastine, and my mentors, Joan Guggenheimer and Jane Sherburne. In all, and quite remarkably, more than 10% of the Aiming High honorees since 2001 have held senior executive positions at Citi. Citi has an unmatched track record of attracting and supporting star women executives, and it is only fitting that Citi is being honored today for its unwavering commitment to encouraging, promoting, and empowering women. And it is particularly fitting that Citi is being honored shortly after shattering one of the most stubborn glass ceilings in corporate America. It was announced last month that Jane Fraser, and Aiming High honoree class of 2012, will be Citi's next Chief Executive Officer effective February 2021, and the very first female CEO ever of a global financial institution. Through that announcement, Citi has sent a powerful message that will reverberate throughout corporate America, a message that in the right corporation, with the right board of directors, the right executive leadership team, and the right values and culture, there are no barriers to women. Jane Fraser is a friend of mine and a transcendent talent who will lead Citi and the financial services community brilliantly and with grace and integrity, serving as a powerful role model and ally for so many talented women at financial institutions and corporations across the nation. You see, Citi doesn't just talk the talk, but it also walks the walk. The caliber of Citi's current and former female executives, so many of whom have been honored over the years by Legal Momentum, speaks for itself. But let me catalog just a few of the positions that these uber successful women have held at Citi: President, Chief Financial Officer, Chief Administrative Officer, CEO of the Citi Private Bank, CEO of Citibank, CEO of Citi's Global Consumer Bank, CEO of Smith Barney, President of Citi Personal Banking, President of Citi Wealth Management, General Counsel and Chief Auditor, and now, of course, CEO of Citi itself. As should be evident, diversity and inclusion, and in particular, supporting, promoting, and empowering women, is central to Citi's mission and culture. None of these accomplishments is meant to suggest that this vital work is fully done at Citi. But rather than shy away from the tough issues in its quest to achieve gender equality, as so many institutions have, Citi has decided to own the issue. To cite a recent example, Citi has taken the lead on Wall Street in announcing its intention to close the gender pay gap. Rather than rely on platitudes and press statements, Citi has decided to publicly report its pay equity data and has told the world that it intends to be held accountable in its quest to increase the representation of women in senior and higher paying positions across the institution by reporting the data and letting the world know its progress. The goal of gender equality and the vice of gender equity pay stand as stark reminders of the hard work that still needs to be done. Corporate America still has so much more that needs to be accomplished to level the playing field, provide opportunities to talented women, and increase the number of women in positions of leadership and influence. But thanks to the efforts of Legal Momentum and of its dedicated group of honorees, and thanks to the leadership and commitment of Citi, tremendous strides have been made in recent years and no doubt will be made in the future, provided we collectively continue to aim high. No corporation has aimed higher for a longer period of time and with more tangible successes than Citi. It is my distinct privilege to present Citi with the first ever Legal Momentum Corporate Champion Award. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Legal Momentum for presenting Citi with the first ever Corporate Champion Award. We are honoured to receive this recognition for our work to advance the careers of women at the firm. I'm proud to be able to say that many women from Citi have previously been honoured by Legal Momentum in the last 20 years, as we have enthusiastically supported the mission of Legal Momentum to address gender inequity. Diversity and inclusion are core to everything we do at Citi. In 2018, I became a co-lead of Citi's Hispanic Latino Affinity Group as part of Citi's reworked structure of having each of our 10 affinities led by a member of the Citi CEO's leadership team. Now, as a British female of Irish descent, I wouldn't necessarily be the first choice to co-lead the Hispanic Latino Affinity Group, but my passion for creating strong and inclusive teams matched my love for the Hispanic culture, which I was immersed in while working in Latin America and Mexico in a regional CAO role at Citi. Another great pride for many of us across the firm is Citi's leadership and transparency around pay equity and equal representation. As a firm, we are committed to closing the gender pay gap, and Citi has set goals to increase representation of women and US minorities in senior and higher pay roles across the firm by the end of 2021. We are being open about pay equity data, what it means, and what needs to be done to meet our goals. While we recognise that there is much more to do, we are proud of where we are headed. In recent years, we've increased our focus on recruitment, development, and promotion of women at all levels across the company. And Citi is elevating the conversation around race, gender, and equal pay for equal work. We know it's now a different world than when we announced these goals, but the message is even more important now, and we remain committed to working towards achieving them. Citi also drives economic growth for women through our business and partnerships. In January 2020, Citi launched the $150 million Citi Impact Fund to make equity investments in double bottom line private sector companies that have a positive impact on society. This is the largest fund of its kind launched by a bank using its own capital. Citi is actively seeking opportunities to invest in businesses that are led or owned by women or minority entrepreneurs. Citi is also part of the Women's World Banking Global Network of 53 partners in 32 countries that serves more than 30 million women clients. Celebrating its 40th year in 2019, Women's World Banking designs and invests in the financial solutions, institutions, and policy environments in emerging markets to create greater economic stability and prosperity for women, their families, and their communities. Citi is committed to procuring from women-owned businesses, especially from firms located in developing markets. We recognise that as a global institution, we have the ability to help shape our industry and beyond through our corporate values. We've highlighted issues such as the leadership and gender pay gap in everything we do to affect change and drive progress. This pandemic is challenging us all, but keeping our commitment to equality at the forefront will help us get through this and build a more equitable society by working together with organisations like Legal Momentum. So once again, thank you.
Congratulations, Mary and Citi, for the richly deserved Legal Momentum Corporate Champion Award. At Legal Momentum, we recognize that the fight for gender equality is also a fight for racial justice. We understand that to tackle gender discrimination, we must also address institutional racism. Throughout Legal Momentum's history, we have addressed the intersection of gender and racial discrimination through advocacy, education, and impact litigation. I am so pleased to introduce Michelle Coleman Mays, General Counsel, New York Public Library, and former LM Board Chair, Pamela Carter, 2012 Aiming High honoree, and Paula Pretlow, 2009 Aiming High honoree, for our conversation, Forging Inclusive Equality, Centering Race and Gender Justice.
Hello, my name is Michelle Coleman Mays. I'm the General Counsel for the New York Public Library. I am delighted to be guiding this conversation with the power of two, P2, which is Pamela Carter and Paula Pretlow. They are pioneers, as you will soon learn. Paula is the former Senior Vice President of the Capital Group, a $1.4 trillion privately held investment management firm. While there, she headed up the firm's public fund business development and client relationship group and was responsible for the large client relationships. These days, the longtime investment executive, is immersed in philanthropic endeavors, serving on several multiple nonprofit and corporate boards, including the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, the Kresge Foundation, and Northwestern University, as well as Scion Aries Diversified Credit Fund. You see, she's really not retired. Pamela Carter was the first Black woman to serve as Indiana Attorney General from 1993 to 1997, becoming the first Black woman in the United States to be elected to that position. She was also the first Black woman to become a general counsel at a Fortune 500 company at Cummins Engine. Pamela then moved to the business side at Cummins, eventually taking on the position of president of Cummins Distribution Business, a position from which she retired in 2015. She serves on the not-for-profit boards at Hewlett-Packard Enterprises, Enbridge Inc., Broadridge Financial Solutions. She also serves as an advisor to RDO Equipment, Inc. Neither one of these women have let any grass grow under their feet. The conversation that we're going to have is entitled Forging Inclusive Equity, Centering Race and Gender Justice. And I want to begin by asking both of them, if you think of that title, Centering Race and Gender Justice, what does that mean to center race, and why do we think that's necessary? Pam, you want to start?
Sure. I will give you an example I think that helps to illuminate your question, centering race with gender justice. 100 years ago, the 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution gave women the right to vote. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 gave African Americans the right to vote. So the question is, why wasn't the 19th Amendment sufficient for Black women, and that we had to wait to 1965 to actually enjoy the rights to vote? And I would say because the enduring structures of our legal and economic and social supports and structures are intrinsically racist. So if you don't address that issue first, then the gender justice will not be comprehensive enough for us to enjoy that piece of legislation or constitutional privilege. Because Black women intersect at both the gender merger of the road as well as the racial merger of the road. So if we lived in some small community, we might have actually had the right to vote with the 19th Amendment. But the concentration of most of African Americans are in urban environments and in the South, where we did not enjoy that right. Or if we did, we had to have a lot more barriers. And so we have to be much more comprehensive in our view of the intersectionality of lived experiences for both Black women as well as any other kinds of intersections that women and race experience.
And it's interesting you should use the term intersectionality, because I want to come back to that. But first, I want to have Paula give me her perspective on my question.
I couldn't agree more with what Pamela said. There is no gender justice without racial justice. The Global Fund for Women defines gender justice as the systemic redistribution of power, opportunities, and access for all people of all genders through the dismantling of harmful structures, including patriarchy, homophobia, and transphobia. There is no gender justice without racial justice. And the intersectionality, which I know we'll come back to in this conversation, is really important. We, Black women, women of color, intersect in our identities in so many different areas. It's imperative that we center race because our country is systemically racist. We have to admit it. And only when we can admit it can we then begin to dismantle and reconstruct a more just society for all women, particularly Black women and women of color.
And Pam, do you want to add anything to that?
I think one of the intriguing elements of intersectionality is that it was coined by an African-American woman.
And you'll see that most of our social changes, the conscience of this country, are often originated by African American women. You don't get the benefit of it, but we certainly bear the burden of the racism. Her name is Kimberly Crenshaw, and she is a legal scholar. And what she found out was, and analyzing a case from General Motors, where women weren't hired until 1964, Black women. And so and they sued. And the question was there racial discrimination? And the court said, well, you're either a woman or you're a Black person, but you can't be both because it can't be a protected class. And so she says, and they lost. So the plaintiffs lost. And so Kimberly Crenshaw then used a lot of her scholarship for the rest of her professional career, trying to unravel what that meant. And so she said, maybe we're not a protected class, but we have the intersection, the merger of our identities that impact us in a way that we're not protected by the law. We're not recognized and we become invisible. And so therefore we lose cases.
Paula, when did you become aware of the differences that women of color experience versus white women when you talk about gender bias?
Oh, I've been aware of differences between Black women and white women since I was a child. When my mother decided in 1968 that her children would voluntarily desegregate the Oklahoma City public schools, I knew that I was different. I knew that I was Black. I knew that they were white. And I think my mother doing that for me, for us, my brothers and sisters, really set me on a path at an early age of understanding that I would have to figure out ways to become successful, be able to compete, and be able to think around, through, under, and over the power structures, the white power structures that existed then and continue to exist today. I could go on, but I will give Pam a chance to respond. This has just been part of my life.
When I was running for Attorney General, my opponent, a white male, made sure that he had a cardboard cutout of me, not because my name reflects my gender. So there wasn't a lot of debate about that, but my picture depicted my race. And he wanted to make certain that the voters in all 92 counties knew that I was a Black woman. And in fact, even during that time, and it was in the early 90s, there was a leaked recording of him saying to a small group of people, she's Black. So that point was really one that he thought he could win, not just run on, but win on, because he understood, again, that the intersectionality of race and gender did not include people like me. And he didn't want that power dynamic to then be bestowed upon me through the election. And when I won, and this is the second part of this, the polls suggested that I was winning all throughout my race. The day of the election, it was pretty certain that I had won by 8:00 p.m. And yet the media refused to call the election until after midnight. They counted my votes over and over again. And what was nice was that how they have the large celebratory group in a ballroom somewhere. They waited for me because all the other offices had been declared the winners and the losers, except mine. And then when they finally declared it, and we finally went downstairs, people stayed and we all celebrated.
This will be my last question. Assuming that you're writing your memoir, what would be the title of your memoir?
I think the title would be Angels Along the Way.
And say that again, Angels Along
the Way. And the meaning of that, my grandfather, whom I've spoken about, and had an extraordinary life, his dad was a slave. He grew up in the early years on a plantation. He made it big in many ways, an amazing life. But he said he would never have made it without angels along the way. And I like that because I actually believe very much in this country and the ideals and the aspirations that are documented. in a lot of our laws. I just want it to become a reality. And all of us can become angels along the way of others. And there have been in my life angels along the way toward whatever success I might have ever had. I never had anything that I achieved alone. And so the mind is a collective thought, and how do we expand and lift up people so that the level of dignity and respect that's experienced, the lived experience at the intersections of anyone's life, is uplifted by the angels along the way.
I like that title. And what about you, Paula? You've had a few more minutes to think.
I love that title. And the title of my memoir will be Life Happens, Show Up.
I like that.
I like that, Paula.
And the opportunity I to deliver a convocation in 2016 to the graduating class of the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences at Northwestern, my alma mater. And I talked about the difficulties that we all experience along the way. But if we are present, if we show up, things usually work out. Work through them, show up, continue to be that little bouncy ball that keeps coming. You knock it down, it comes up, because that's life. And be a help to others along the way, and others will do the same for you. We will all experience hardships. It is the manner, the grace, and how we meet those hardships that will determine how we overcome them and become stronger to move on. I don't want to sound Pollyannish, but it's my lived experience.
So you know that I work at a library, so I can now see two bestsellers, Angels Along the Way, Life Happens, Show Up. So I'm going to look for those books on our shelves as soon as you write them. So I'll end with this story and a quote. And the reason it's so fitting is, I don't know if you saw in the newspaper a few days ago that Jane Fraser, who was also recognized the same year that you were recognized, Pamela, for the Aiming High, she's going to be CEO of Citibank.
Yes.
And she will be the first woman to lead a major financial U.S. institution when she takes that role in February 2021. So when I read about her a few days ago, it was at the same time that they mentioned a woman of color who I would venture to say might have been invisible until I read about her a few days ago, Maggie Lena Walker. She was the first Black woman to lead a U.S. bank in 1903. Let me repeat that, 1903, in Richmond, Virginia, St. Luke Penny Savings Bank. And her curator, they've got historical things that obviously are being preserved to honor her legacy. He said, often with pioneers, we shouldn't think of their legacy as requiring the fulfillment of the path they blazed. Their legacy was blazing that path. The fulfillment may be up to us.
Mm.
And what she said on her deathbed, which I think both of you would say now because I've listened to your words and they have resonated with me. When she died in 1934, her last words were, have faith, have hope, have courage, and carry on.
Mm.
So may you carry on. And thank you so much for the time you've shared with me in this conversation. Be
Thank
well.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Michelle, Pamela, and Paula, for your candid and inspiring comments on Legal Momentum's dual mission of gender justice and racial justice. And now to introduce our final 2020 Aiming High honoree, Christine DiBiase of Bright House Financial. Please welcome Eric Steigerwald, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Bright House Financial, one of the largest providers of annuities and life insurance in the United States.
Good afternoon. I'm Eric Steigerwald, President and CEO of Bright House Financial. It's an honor and a privilege to join you today to celebrate our distinguished honorees and to show support for this outstanding organization, Legal Momentum. Thanks to all of you who are attending today, including the Board of Directors of Bright House Financial. And congratulations to Tonnet, Callaway, and Citigroup. I also hope that all of you watching and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to unfold. Before I introduce the next honoree, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Legal Momentum for the incredible work it has done over the years and continues to do. I'm very excited to introduce the next award recipient, my friend and colleague, Christine DiBiase. The Aiming High Awards celebrate the power and accomplishments of extraordinary individuals who have achieved great heights in their professions. And I can't think of anyone more deserving of this honor than Chris. I remember when I first met Chris about 15 years ago. At the time, we were both working at MetLife. Even before I met her, I knew of Chris's reputation. Chris was known for being a consummate professional and someone who you could always count on. And if there's one thing I've been able to do in my journey at Bright House Financial, it's count on Chris DiBiase. As some of you may know, in 2017, Bright House Financial was spun off from MetLife. It was a major transaction, taking MetLife's U.S. retail segment public to create what is today a Fortune 500 company and one of the largest providers of annuities and life insurance in the U.S. When it came time for me to choose someone to lead the separation efforts and become the general counsel of this new publicly traded company, there was only one person I considered, and that person was Christine DiBiase. To say the least, Chris played a major role in helping stand up Bright House Financial and in defining who we are as an organization today. As I said, I've always been able to count on Chris, and let me just say that if you don't have the ultimate trust in your general counsel, you're in trouble in my job. Today, Chris is even more than our general counsel. Since 2018, Chris has also been Bright House Financial's Chief Administrative Officer. She is an incredible leader, professional, and friend. For as long as I've known Chris, I've known her to be someone who cares deeply about people, both inside and outside the workplace. She serves as a member of the advisory board for Power Play NYC, a nonprofit organization committed to educating and empowering girls through sports. She is also a member of the foundation board for the National Junior College Athletic Association. In 2018, she chaired the 15th annual Let Me Play luncheon, benefiting the Charlotte 49ers women's athletic program. Through such work, Chris combines her love of sports with her passion to change young lives. At Bright House Financial, Chris continues to play a huge role in building our culture, including serving as a major driver of our diversity and inclusion initiatives. Chris is one of two executive sponsors of this work, which includes our Diversity and Inclusion Council, made up of representatives from across our company. In addition to everything else she does, Chris and the Chief Administrative Office organization are also responsible for driving our sustainability strategy. This is an important area of focus for Bright House Financial, and with Chris, I know these efforts are in excellent hands. I could go on and on telling you of the many other reasons that Chris is deserving of this honor. I'll just end by saying that we are so fortunate and grateful to have someone like Chris at Bright House Financial. Chris aims high every day, and Bright House Financial and our communities are better because of it. So Chris, congratulations. This is so well-deserved. I am so proud and honored to be your colleague and to call you a friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And to all of you watching today, thank you for supporting Legal Momentum and its vital work. I'm sorry that we can't be in person together this year and hope to be joining all of you next year in an in-person celebration of this incredible organization. I am so incredibly honored to receive the Aiming High Award. I truly admire the crucial work Legal Momentum has done over the years and to be recognized by this extraordinary organization that has been so instrumental in fighting for women's rights means so much to me on a personal level. I'm humbled to join Tonic Callaway and Citigroup, as well as all the remarkable honorees who have come before us. I'd also like to thank the Bright House Financial Board of Directors, specifically Irene Chang-Britt, for nominating me, and thank you to all of our terrific partners for their generous contributions in support of Legal Momentum's efforts. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not convey my sincere gratitude to our CEO and my friend, Eric Steigerwalt, for being a true champion of gender equity and diversity and inclusion. Eric, your genuine passion for these areas permeates both within and outside the walls of Bright House Financial, and I'm so proud to be on this journey with you. I hope that all of you watching and your loved ones are remaining safe and healthy during this unprecedented time. So a little about me. I've always loved playing sports and have a particular passion for the game of baseball. But growing up, girls didn't play baseball. They played softball. But when I was about 12 years old, I was determined to play on a baseball team. And when I say determined, I mean very determined. So much so that even though my father didn't initially want me playing baseball, I went to tryouts anyway. But when I got to the field, the coach turned me away and directed me to the nearby softball tryouts. My father eventually figured out where I had disappeared to, saw my conviction, and stood behind me. I got my tryout, and not only did I make the team, but I earned a spot at third base. Looking back many years later, I can truly say that this experience was pivotal. It taught me an important lifelong lesson that with hard work, determination, and the support of people who truly believe in you, I could have a seat at any table, even if it meant I'd be the only woman sitting at it at the time. It prepared me, emboldened me, and instilled in me a confidence for a life and career where I've often been the only woman on the field, in a discussion, or in the boardroom. Growing up, I was the youngest of 3 daughters in an Italian-American family in Brooklyn, New York. The kind of family where, at least traditionally, the men were expected to do the talking. But my mother had a different idea. At a very young age, she gave me and my sisters a voice at the table and the knowledge that we deserved to be heard and that what we had to say mattered. My mother was the most influential woman in my life. She was my biggest champion growing up and a role model I strive every day to live up to. My mother's support and the strength she embodied in me and my sisters inspired me to follow my ambitions no matter what obstacles I would face. Throughout my life, I've been fortunate to have had incredible women in my life, many strong women. But I know that without my mother and my 2 sisters, I would not be here speaking to you today. I'm incredibly lucky to have grown up in a family that encouraged me to go after what I wanted, to always give it my all and not to be afraid to take risks. I took one of those risks when I was working for MetLife, when I was offered the position of corporate secretary. At the time, I was leading the regulatory affairs organization, and becoming corporate secretary was, let's just say, not completely in my comfort zone. And though I was nervous to accept the position, I took it anyway. But to be effective, I had to rely on the in-house corporate law experts and show some real vulnerability and humility. Had I gone in pretending that I knew exactly what I was doing on day one, I would have set myself up for failure. And perhaps even more importantly, I wouldn't have been me. I was always taught that being genuine is the only way to live. I'm talking about being your true self, knowing who you are, being grounded in your values and standing up for what you believe in every day. This is especially important for women, some of whom may feel pressure to act or be a certain way to be taken seriously. But I'm steadfast in my belief that staying true to yourself is the only way to be truly fulfilled and achieve real success. I took another risk when Eric offered me the opportunity as the lead attorney for the spin-off of Bright House, eventually taking on the role of general counsel. Helping start up this company, one of the largest providers of annuities and life insurance in the United States, has been a truly remarkable experience for me. It was terrifying, but it was truly remarkable. I am so proud to go to work every day for a company that fosters culture where diverse backgrounds and experiences are celebrated and different ideas are heard and respected. And also a company that stands up for what's right. Just as one of many examples, earlier this year we joined an amicus brief with 92 other companies to support ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. A very proud moment for Bright House Financial. And it was a very proud moment at home when I shared what Bright House had done earlier in the day with my family. To my incredible wife, Ellen, and our two amazing kids, Sophie and Marco, thank you for being such a constant inspiration. I can only hope I inspire you as much as you inspire me. I also want to take a moment to personally thank Legal Momentum for the work it has done on behalf of the LGBTQ+ community, including its support of same-sex marriage across the U.S. As our nation's first and oldest legal defense and education fund for women, Legal Momentum has fought and paved the way for so many of today's gender equality rights. Its impact over its 50-year history has been absolutely profound. Today, as I'm sure you're all aware, many victims of domestic violence are in greater danger as a result of movement restrictions designed to stop the spread of COVID-19. This has made the work of Legal Momentum more important than ever. Thank you again for this incredible honor. But more importantly, thank you all for supporting Legal Momentum. I'm a living testament that with solid support, you could accomplish anything. Let's do all that we can to ensure that Legal Momentum is here for 50 more years and beyond. Thank you.
Congratulations to our 2020 Aiming High honorees and corporate champions. This is an unprecedented time in our country. The COVID-19 pandemic is impacting every aspect of women's lives in disproportionate yet familiar ways. This pandemic is probably the fight of our lives. Legal Momentum's work is more important than ever. Your support of the Aiming High Awards helps Legal Momentum protect the physical and economic security of women and girls. We appreciate and encourage you, if you can, to use the donate button on your screen. We thank you, and please stay healthy.
I join Carol Moody in extending our heartfelt thanks for your support of the 20th Annual Aiming High Awards, especially during this unprecedented time. We are very much looking forward to 2021, when we hope you'll join us at the 21st Aiming High Awards Luncheon. We also will celebrate the 50th anniversary of Legal Momentum at that time. And now I'm delighted to share with you that in 2021, we will honor Thomas Reed, Chief Legal Officer and Secretary of Comcast Corporation, as our man of distinction. In the meantime, wishing you all good health and good fortune.